Hello guys, this is Movie Lover and welcome to this Movie Lover world. In this video, we will explain Skins. Skins is a Spanish psychological thriller about some deformed, disfigured characters that must find a way to deal with society shunning their differences. Will they survive in this kind of world? Let's find out in Skins. Skin begins with Simon, who gets news that his wife has given birth to a baby boy. Simon, who was at the brothel at the time, looked displeased with the news of the birth of his child. At the brothel, he met a little girl named Laura, who is only 11 years old. Laura has a physical deficiency, which is not having eyes. The area of her sense of sight was covered in skin. Simon did choose Laura because of the girl's physical shortcomings. Laura then sings a song for him. Simon presented Laura with a pair of pink diamonds as a replacement for her eyes. Laura, who couldn't see, looked happy. They then had sex. 17 years later, the scene shows a girl named Samantha who also has physical deficiencies. Like Laura, Samantha's mouth was in the anal area, and conversely, her anus was in the mouth area. Samantha tries not to cover up her flaws. Confidently, she uploaded a selfie to Instagram and went to a restaurant without covering her face. Samantha, who has all purple stuff, comes to a restaurant and orders soup. She didn't care when a fat waitress laughed at her physical disability and mocked her by giving her a set of cutlery. While waiting for her order to arrive, Samantha checked her cell phone. It turned out that Instagram deleted Samantha's post because it was considered inappropriate and violated the rules. Samantha put her cell phone on the table and took her diary out of her bag. She opened page after page showing her desire to have a normal mouth. After a while, the waiter came to take her order. Samantha then took out a funnel and a small tube, put it in her mouth, which was in the anal area, and started pouring soup into the funnel. While leaving the restaurant, Samantha was confronted by two juvenile delinquents trying to take her belongings. She tried to fight back by kicking the hoodlum's dick. Samantha managed to escape and immediately got into her car. On the way, she realized that her car had just run over something big. She paused for a moment and looked out the car window. It is unknown what Samantha saw and ran over, because the scene had shifted to Ernesto, who was masturbating in his room. Ernesto masturbates while looking at a photo of his girlfriend, who has a physical disability. Unbeknownst to Ernesto, his mother sneaked into his room and caught him. His mother was shocked and angry, even though Ernesto had tried to explain and apologized for what was considered a disgrace in their religion. Unmitigated, his mother then kicked him out of the house. Elsewhere, Ernesto's lover, Ana, turns out to be having an affair with a man named Guillermo. Like Ana, Guillermo also has a physical disability. He had burns all over his face. Ana wants a man who can love herself for who she is and thinks that Guillermo is the right man. That night, Ernesto came to meet Ana. He told Ana that he had been kicked out of the house. Instead of sympathizing, Ana said that she wanted to break up with Ernesto. Ana also admitted to having an affair with Guillermo. Ernesto, who was getting worse, finally left Ana. The scene returns to Samantha. She was having dinner with her father while watching television. They were silent for a moment listening to the news about a young hit-and-run victim who died after his leg was run over by a car. Samantha's father then strongly condemned the actions of the car driver who fled the scene and let the victim die. A frightened Samantha chose to hide the fact from her father that she was the irresponsible driver of the car. Samantha's father then brought her a birthday cake with candles on it. That day turned out to be Samantha's birthday, and her father gave a gift in the form of a unicorn mask which he believed could make her more confident. But of course, Samantha's expectations weren't like that, and she cried because her father never understood her feelings. The scene turns to Christian, a purple-haired young man sitting in a wheelchair. Christian is Simon's son, because Simon left him. At birth, he has a mental breakdown. The only thing he knows about his father is that Simon has a mermaid tattooed on his arm. Christian becomes obsessed and thinks his father has turned into a mermaid. Despite his perfect physical appearance, Christian doesn't want his legs. He thought he should have fins like a mermaid instead of 2 legs. Christian's mother then took him to a psychiatrist. They had such a big fight there that Christian fell out of the wheelchair. Accidentally, Christian's pants sag, and the mother finally finds out that Christian really hates his legs, because there are many cuts on his son's legs. Burned with anger and shame, Christian runs away from his mother. He was almost desperate to find a way to remove 2 of his legs. Christian sits on the side of the road, then a crazy idea comes to mind. He was lying on the side of the road, and his feet were right on the road, hoping that a car would run over him. A car passed by and literally ran over Christian's feet. It turned out that the car was being driven by Samantha, who was trying to escape from the delinquents. Christian and Samantha stare at each other for a moment. He smiled at Samantha as his wish to have both legs removed had finally come true. However, Christian, who was seriously injured, finally breathed his last breath at the scene. The scene changes to Vanessa, a woman with the body of a dwarf who works as a person in a teddy bear mascot costume. Vanessa turns out to be pregnant. She checked her womb to the midwife, hoping that the baby would be born normal. However, after an ultrasound examination, the midwife said that Vanessa's child would be born like her. A frustrated Vanessa then decides to stop working. But her boss forbade her, even trying to persuade her by giving her a briefcase full of money. The boss's persuasion didn't work. Vanessa even threw the money case out the window, and the boss, who was about to pick it up, fell and died instantly. Guillermo, who happened to be there, did not waste the opportunity to take the money and run away. Guillermo then took the briefcase to Anna's house. Guillermo told her that he wanted to do plastic surgery with the money in the briefcase. Anna disagreed with Guillermo's idea and assumed that he would leave her after successful plastic surgery on his face. Guillermo doesn't care and will still do plastic surgery even though Anna disagrees. Anna also thought that Guillermo didn't really love her. She then breaks up with Guillermo. Finally, she realized that only she could accept her physical flaws. Anna is determined to love herself more as she is, love her flaws, and try to live independently, without depending on others. The scene changes to Itzia, who goes to the same brothel as Simon. Itzia meets Laura, who is still working in the brothel and still wears the diamond Simon gave her in her eyes. Laura, who has now grown into a beautiful woman, serves Itzia with all her heart, without knowing Itzia's true intentions. Itzia often came to Laura because she wanted to steal her diamonds. The opportunity came when Laura is in a semi-conscious state. She tries to steal the diamond, but someone suddenly opened the door to Laura's room and Itzia, who panicked for fear of being caught, swallowed the diamond instead. As a result, she had to use various ways to get the diamond out of her body. After experiencing excruciating pain to get the diamond out, Itzia finally managed to get the diamond. But surprisingly, she returned the diamond to Laura. She felt guilty for using Laura's physical handicap for her own benefit. Laura understands Itzia's predicament. She also forgave her. They then fell in love with each other and lived happily. The scene switches to Simon attending Christian's funeral. He is very sad and feels guilty for ignoring Christian. Even though he doesn't really want to abandon his son, Simon still has to leave Christian because he is worried that he won't be able to control his lust. Simon turns out to have a sexual disorder that makes him a pedophile. Simon doesn't want his son to be his victim and chooses to leave. But his decision made his son suffer until he had to die. Simon also blames himself for Christian's death. The scene switches to Samantha, who is walking down a small alley. She met again with two juvenile delinquents who had bullied her. They wanted to beat Samantha in the alley. One of the young delinquents abused Samantha in the anal area. But unbeknownst to the thug, Samantha's mouth was in the anus area, and she fought back by biting the young man's dick. Having managed to escape the hoodlums, Samantha stopped at a bridge, looking down at the highway below. She intends to end her own life after experiencing unfair treatment from the people around her. She was unable to bear the suffering that repeatedly came into her life. But when she was about to jump, suddenly she was unconscious. After regaining consciousness, Samantha saw Ernesto standing next to her. Ernesto also wanted to commit suicide after being kicked out of the house and breaking up with his girlfriend. But Ernesto gave up his intention after seeing Samantha lying unconsciously on the street. He immediately falls in love with Samantha, who also has physical deficiencies like Anna. He then proposed to Samantha, and they lived happily ever after. Not only Samantha, Ernesto, Laura, and Itzia, who had a happy ending, Christian also had a happy ending. Even though it's in the afterlife, he managed to get a fin and become the mermaid like he had always wanted. The film ends. Movie lover will meet you again with new story till take care.